Good morning. Hope you're having a great week. Is it Wednesday morning or Thursday morning? I think it's Thursday. Wait a second. First, Monday was the second, third, fourth. Yeah, today is Thursday. Thursday, May 5th, and it is 3:30 a 3:31 a.m., 3:32 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, local time here in Aurora, Oregon. And I am about to relocate to a different truck stop. And I'm not sure if I can get out of this spot. We're going to give it a try. The spots straight across from me, all those trucks you can see parked across from me, are illegally parked. There are signs all up and down through here that say no parking along that curb. All right, so I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to get out and I'm going to just look around me. Get my flashlight. Oh, yeah, plenty of room. I basically cleared both trucks on each side of me, and I've got tons of room between me and them. One of the things that's really, really common at these truck stops are people hitting other people whenever they're pulling out of a spot. And these trucks are so big, so heavy, and so powerful that you don't even notice it. Where the hell's the turn at? I'm going to end up going there's a turn somewhere around here to go back to the right, but everybody is creatively parked and they're just basically blocking the roadways. Like this jackass is parked right in the middle of the damn road, and the guy over to my right is also parked in the road. But yeah, people, that's one of the most common accidents is swiping people coming out of a spot or going around a turn because people just misjudge all this. It's really, 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 really tight in this truck stop because people are just parked all over the place in all kinds of places they're not supposed to be in. Sorry, I'm just watching my trailer. Ooh, some bumps. Every time I feel a little bump, it freaks me out. I start checking my trailer to see if I'm hitting somebody. But yeah, the yesterday, not yesterday, it was Sunday night, like like 4 days ago, when I was at the truck stop that I'm headed to right now. There was a really young kid, looked like he was barely 21, backed into a spot, two spots to my right. It was a blind side back, which you have to. That's the only way to back into that spot. It was angled, and it was too tight to back in from the sight side. So I had to blindside into the spot. He had to blindside into the spot. It was the only way into the spot. And he got backed in there. He was having some difficulty. There was somebody that came up there and started helping him. And sorry, I have to wait for this guy to make this huge turn because he has to go out into opposing traffic to make the turn. So anyway, he didn't do a bad job for being a young, obviously inexperienced driver. He actually did not do very bad for a blindside back. He got out and looked several times, and I thought he did a really good job. But the person that was helping him did not notice that he had his trailer brakes on, and I got tired of sitting there watching him slide his trailer. So I got out and let him know that his trailer tires were not spinning, and I suspected his trailer brakes were on, and he was like, "Oh, yeah." And he released his trailer brakes. He's good to go. But that's not the moral of the story. About 10 minutes after he got parked in that spot, that's when the TA guy came around with his clipboard running people out of the reserved spots. And as soon as he saw the guy with the clipboard, he freaked out. And he just took off. He was afraid that he was going to get a ticket or something. And when he bolted, he went to make a wide right turn. And he clipped the mirror of the person parked to the left of him. And the guy was sitting in his driver's seat. And he just laid on his horn because he clipped his mirror and he was driving into him. So he was doing more damage. Like every inch that he went, he was coming further and further toward this guy's truck, just ripping his mirror off the side of his truck. And the kid stopped and looked back and just laughed and smiled. I mean, that's something a lot of people do when they're nervous or scared. So, I mean, I don't think he was, making fun of the situation or anything. I think he was just scared shitless. But that real long story was just to explain to you how common it is. I see it happen all the time. I see people, it happens, I wake up in the morning and I got scratches all up and down my damn trailer from people backing into me or whenever they're pulling out. A lot of people don't pay any attention to their trailer swing. There are people that will take really sharp turns pulling out of a spot and they'll start pivoting because they're turning so sharp. And they're looking on their sight side and they're clear. They're not hitting anybody on their sight side, but they're not accounting for that overhang, their trailer swing. And they can jack somebody's truck up with that trailer swing. But why am I relocating back up to Portland? Did I get a load? No, I didn't. The loads have been absolute dog shit. I'm talking really, really shitty loads. The loads weren't this bad whenever I booked a load up here, and they just keep getting worse and worse. Just a second here, I gotta be careful for this on-ramp. There's a whole bunch of people parked on the on-ramp, which makes it very difficult to tell if there's somebody coming up the on-ramp. I understand that we have a parking issue with trucking, but like this is so incredibly dangerous to have people just parked on ramps and off ramps and just up and down the shoulder. Like these two trucks right here aren't even on the on ramp; they're just parked along the shoulder. Yeah, I got to be real careful out here. It's not easy to maneuver one of these trucks around. And, I have people that, it's not as bad since I've been on with Landstar because most people know that you have to be, a veteran driver. You have to have an absolute minimum of a year of experience to get on with Landstar, which is not technically true anymore. They've, I'm going to digress off in another discussion. There was somebody in my training class who had less than a year of experience, and he was hired as basically a company driver. He was going to drive for someone that was leased to Landstar. So Landstar, there are people driving around Landstar that are basically trainees. I guess Landstar got desperate for people. But anyway, when I was with USA Truck and I would get out and look, backing into a spot, people would assume it was like my first day driving, and I would have 5 to 10 people running out there telling me what to do and yelling at me and shit like that, talking to me like I'm retarded. But I haven't had that happen since I've been with Landstar. I have had a couple of occasions where people came out and tried to be helpful, but they weren't as condescending as they were when I was with USA Truck. The company you drive for, their reputation, it has an impact on how you're treated out here over the road. That's been my experience. But I get out and look a lot. Like if I'm not sure, if I'm not 100% certain, I don't just like wing it. It's not worth it. Take 10 seconds to get out and look, or fuck up somebody's truck and you have an accident on your record for years. You're going to be spending probably hours dealing with it that day. You're probably going to be spending tens, dozens of hours, maybe hundreds of hours dealing with paperwork and insurance, all kinds of shit over that little petty accident. And it's going to be on your record for a long time. It may affect your income. Like it's just over 10 to 15 seconds to get out and look. I don't really give a shit what people think about me when I get out and look. I honestly do not give a damn what people think about me. I am not, out here to please them. Wow. Oregon has a sign right there threatening to give people tickets if they cut off truck drivers. I like it. I just wish you had a little bit more parking. But compared to the Seattle area, the Portland area has tons of truck parking. Oh my goodness. The Seattle area is crazy. Like there's so little truck parking in the Seattle area. There's a lot of truck parking in the Portland area in comparison to Seattle, but there's still nowhere near enough truck parking in the Portland area. Well, why am I headed back to Troutdale? Okay, so I delivered that load Sunday night, and I went to the TA in Troutdale. That's where I was hoping to stay. Well, they were packed. I got there. I got into a reserve spot. I tried to pay for a reserve spot, and they were like, "We're sold out. You're going to have to move out of that spot." So I got ran out of that spot, and I drove down to Aurora, Oregon, which is like 40 miles south. And that's where I've been sitting at since then. Well, now my APU broke down on me. There's a carrier APU dealer, an authorized dealer or whatever, right across the street from the TA in Troutdale. It's the only one in this area. And I am fairly certain I know what the part is, and it's only going to take me about 10 to 15 minutes to swap the part out myself. I'm not going to pay a mechanic to do it. I'm just going to go over there and buy a part. So what the plan is I waited until like 3:30 in the morning so that whenever I arrive in at the TA in Troutdale, it should be around 4 a.m., somewhere in that area. And that's around the time some of the early people start leaving the truck stop. You can get some of the best parking spots at about 4 to 5 a.m. Between 4 and 6 a.m., um, most of the spots are going to be taken, but there should be a couple of spots available between 4 and 6 a.m. And the closer you get to 6 a.m., the more spots. And then like 7, 8 a.m., right around 8 a.m., like it's hard to get out of the truck stop because there's so many people leaving truck stops at around 8 a.m. So, yeah, that's my plan is to go there around this time and hopefully find a parking spot. And then whenever the carrier dealer opens up, I'm not sure if they open at 7 or 8 a.m., but whenever they open up, I'm going to bobtail. I'm going to drop my trailer. I know that there are signs in the truck stop say don't drop your trailer, but I am. I'm going to drop my trailer and I'm going to drive across the street and get the parts and then drive back over to the truck stop and install it. So what part is it? What's wrong with the APU? Well, the APU broke down on me on the way to Portland. Where was I at? Where was I at? It was when I was in Oregon. I can't remember the name of the town that I stopped at, but it was like 240 miles away from Portland on 84. So like 240 miles east of Portland on 84, some town. I think it was near Pendleton. And it was raining outside. It was miserable. It was cold. And I stopped to take my 10-hour break, and the APU was working fine for 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden the air conditioner kicked off on the APU. The APU was still running, but the air conditioner kicked off, and it started getting hot inside the truck. Even, I don't want to digress for an hour talking about how my truck, I don't know what the hell's wrong with it, but it gets incredibly hot in the truck, even when it's cold outside. But, so I'm running my air conditioner almost year round inside this truck. But so the AC kicked off, and within like 15, 20 minutes, it started getting warm, and it started getting up around 80 degrees inside here. So I turned the APU off, and I got out and I started troubleshooting the issue. I've had this issue happen several times, and I'm familiar. I'm not a mechanic, so I'm not like all knowing about the APU, but I am familiar with the basic functionality of the APU enough to troubleshoot the issue. So I got out there and looking at the possible issues. The issue is that the air conditioner stopped working, and also the outlet that runs off of the APU, the one that runs directly off the APU, stopped working as well. And that outlet is powered directly from the generator, and the air conditioning, the HVAC system on the APU is powered directly from the generator. The APU has two sources of power. It has an alternator on it that charges the batteries, and then it has a generator on it that provides 120 volt power to the HVAC system and the outlets that run off of the generator. So nothing that ran off the generator was working. So I went out and I started troubleshooting the generator. The generator has a 20 volt fuse. I checked that. I checked the generator belt, and the generator belt was really loose. I was highly confident that that was the problem because of how loose it was. Like, it was so loose, I'm surprised it was spinning at all. And I went ahead and swapped out the fuse because sometimes it's hard to tell whether or not a fuse is blown. So I just went ahead and swapped the fuse out, and I tested without tightening the belt, no change. So then I tightened the belt, still no change. So then, was there anything else I did before I went to the capacitor? I can't remember anything else I did before I went to the capacitor. But while I tightened the generator belt, I went ahead and tightened the alternator belt, which was a non-issue. I was just tightening belts, and the alternator belt was a little bit loose. So I went ahead and tightened it while I was there. And I also filled up the oil and just general stuff that had nothing to do with the issue. But the next thing I started looking at was the capacitor. And when I removed the capacitor, one of the connections came apart. And where it was connected, where it broke at, looked like charcoal. It was like it just got so hot that it turned the electrical line to charcoal and then it snapped. So I cut the line back, replaced the connector, cleaned off the terminals, and put the capacitor back in. I was going to replace the capacitor, but the spare capacitors that I bought, I have two of them in the truck, are the wrong size. So now I know the exact specifications of the capacitor that I need. So next time I go to the house, I'll order the correct ones. But for now, I don't have any spares, so I just put the old one back in, and everything started working great. And the APU's been working for like 4 days. And then all of a sudden, yesterday, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the exact same thing that happened on Sunday happened. Nothing that runs off of the generator is functional. So I think that capacitor is out. I think by going in there and cleaning the terminals and fixing the electrical line, I was able to get a little bit more out of that capacitor, but I think that capacitor has failed me. And the reason I carry spare capacitors, and I also carry spare alternator fan belts, is because those things go out so often. About every 3 months, I have to replace the alternator fan belt and the capacitor. So what my plan is to go over here to the carrier dealer and buy a capacitor from them. Hopefully they don't try to rip me off too bad on the capacitor, because it's a fairly generic part and you can buy them online for $13. So I'm just, I know the dealers love to jack up their prices and mark up everything. So we'll see how much they try to rip me off, and hopefully I don't snap on them, because I have a really short fuse. And like, if they come out and tell me it's $80 or something like that, I'm probably just going to start yelling and cuss them out. And then I'll leave, and then I'll have to spend the whole day trying to find a hardware store that has one. But that's what's going on right now, is I'm headed over to the TA to get my APU fixed. Now, I have not taken the APU apart to check and verify that it's most likely the capacitor. I need to, open up the APU and look and make sure that the belt didn't snap. Because, I mean, it could be the belt. So after I get parked, while I'm waiting for them to open up, while I'm waiting for the carrier dealer to open, I'll go out there and pop the cover off the APU and take a peek at it, make sure that the belt is good. And I'll probably go ahead and pull the 20-volt fuse and double check that fuse, make sure it's good. And if those things are good, then I'll go ahead and replace the capacitor. And if they've got good prices on the capacitor, if the capacitors are like 15 bucks, if they're reasonable, if they're close to what I can pay online for them, then I'll probably go ahead and buy a couple of spares while I'm there. But I've got 18 more miles. I'm about halfway through the journey, and I plan on recording all the way up until I get parked. We're gonna see what the parking situation is like, and I'm hoping that I'm gonna get a really easy spot to get into, because usually the people that are leaving around this time are the ones that got there early in the day and got the best spots. So usually whenever you find a spot at this hour, it's one of the best spots. And the best spots are typically ones that are close to the building and are easy to get into. So we'll see. We will see. If there aren't any spots open when I get there, then what I'll do is I'll top off fuel and I'll just wait for people to pull out. I'll just go, I've got a quarter tank of fuel. I wasn't planning on getting fuel until I get a load, but I'll go ahead and top off fuel, and then, I should probably top off fuel now anyway, because of the way prices are going up. Whenever I delivered the load on Sunday, the price of fuel here in Oregon, the fuel in Oregon looks really cheap because they don't charge fuel tax. Fuel tax is not included in the price of fuel at the pump. So you pay a lot of extra IFTA after the fact whenever you go into Oregon. But the price was about $4.58 a gallon whenever I left Oklahoma, and by the time I got to Oregon on Sunday, it was like 4.64 a gallon. It had gone up like 6 cents a gallon in a couple of days. And now I checked it a couple minutes ago. It's 4.80 something a gallon, like 4.81, 4.85. So it's gone up like 20 something cents a gallon in the last couple of days. Fuel prices are absurd. And people are starting to call out, like, second here. There's nobody. I don't see any vehicles behind me. But I've got to look really good for those cars that are sneaking up in my blind spot. Cruising around Portland here. But I'm very much against the Democrats' war on fossil fuels, and that is a huge part of the reason why fossil fuel prices have gone up by so much since they've come into power. But there are a lot of other things at play as well. There's a lot of supply chain disruptions. Um, and a war. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And one of the things that's happening right now is gouging. The fossil fuel industry is taking advantage of the situation, and we're seeing gouging right now. We're just seeing just flat out price gouging. So it's these, and we also have inflation that's affecting pricing. So there's a lot of factors that are affecting fossil fuel prices. Inflation, a war, a political party's war against fossil fuels, um, the fossil fuel industry trying to maximize profits. There's just so much stuff going on, and I don't see any of it relenting anytime soon. I don't see any changes happening that are going to stabilize or reduce the prices. Right now, the fossil fuel industry is just grinning ear to ear at their earning potential. But let's not rant and rave about that anymore. Let's move on from that. it's fuel is a huge part of being an owner operator is fuel cost. So it's something that unfortunately we're not going to ignore. But maybe I will go ahead and you know what? I think I'm going to look for a spot first, and I'll top off fuel whenever I come back from the carrier dealer. Or if there's not a spot available, then I'll go ahead and top off fuel now. But the carrier dealer is right on the other side of the interstate from the TA. The only thing that sucks is that it is a poorly designed, extremely busy service road, and it is really, really hard to get out of the TA. I need to double check my alerts and see if I change them from Troutdale to Aurora and change them back. What I was saying earlier about Oregon not charging you fuel tax at the pump, and it makes their pump prices look really good. If you start looking at the other places around here and tack on the fuel tax that is part of their pump price, then Oregon's fuel prices don't look that amazing anymore. Like in Fort Bridger, I topped off at 4.91 a gallon. I think it was 4.91 a gallon is what I topped off at. And I think it's a 20 cent per gallon fuel tax. 20 cents per gallon is fairly standard. Not every state is 20 cents a gallon though. But that's 4.71 a gallon once you take away the fuel tax. So that was really close to Oregon's price back then. I would have to look and see what Wyoming's fuel tax is to be certain of exactly how they compare it against each other. And what's really cool is Landstar's app that you use to look up fuel prices has an option in there to look at the price without fuel tax so that you can compare places like this that don't have fuel tax in their price. 10 miles until the exit. And the creative parking in this area, I mean, the creative parking everywhere is bad. You saw the truck stop I was just at in Aurora. Uh, that the creative parking was really, really, really bad there. It's really bad everywhere. It's become common for people to just park where the hell ever. I mean, it's just become really, really common for people to do that, and it's become really hard for these places to enforce parking violations because of how many people are doing it. And a big part of this problem is because of how many trucks we have on the road. We have way too many trucks in this industry. Read an article by Freight Waves, and they said that last year, I think it was last year, 2021, we had the most drivers ever, or the most trucks. I forget the exact data point, but it's either the most drivers or the most trucks come into the industry ever. The largest expansion of the trucking industry ever. And it's because of the freight rates. The freight rates are so good, and everybody and their brother is starting up a trucking company. And most of them are going to go out of business whenever the freight rates go down, because the freight rates have been up. Yeah, that's great. But also, the expenses have been near all-time highs. So a lot of these people that have been they become owner operators, or they've started up trucking companies during this all-time high freight. They've been paying all-time high expenses. And once the freight rates drop, they're going to go out of business real quick, because most of them probably do not have a business model that is going to survive a freight recession. And Freight Waves is predicting a freight recession. I don't know if I want to put a term on it like recession, but I've been talking about rates going down for a couple months. The fuel prices are going to affect the economy. So we're going to have an economic downturn, and we're going to have less freight moving, and we have more trucks than ever in the industry. And freight prices are dictated by the amount of freight versus the amount of trucks. So when we have less freight and too damn many trucks, the rates are going to go down. And they're going to keep going down until we have less trucks or more freight. And generally, what's going to happen first is we're going to have less trucks. It's a cycle. This happens all the time. You don't have to be Nostradamus to know what's going to happen. This is the boom bust cycle in trucking. Every single time we have amazing rates, every dumb shit goes out and becomes a truck driver and sets up a poor business model, because it's hard not to make money when freight rates are amazing. But once the freight rates crap out, then all those dumbasses that don't know what they're doing and they don't know how to run a business are going to go out of business. And that's good for the industry to get rid of those shitty carriers, get them out of the industry. But that's going to take time, and there's going to be a lot of pain. The rates are probably going to suck for a year. It takes time for people to go out of business. Some people that are in like walk-away leases, they'll go out of business real quick. But other people that are invested, they're on lease purchases, they've been paying on that truck for 2 years, they're going to keep going as long as they possibly can. Those people that are in, they're financing the truck, and they're in some ridiculous terms on the financing on the truck. They bought a too expensive of a truck or something. Whatever the reason, they're going to stick it out as long as they can. And the companies that have several drivers are going to keep sticking it out as long as they can because it's really hard for them to shut down. It's a bigger decision for a company with multiple drivers to shut down than it is for an owner operator to shut down their business. So we'll see how it all plays out. Right now, I'm sure that there are some people going out of business, but nah, the pain has not begun yet. The rates are still high enough that you can make a living with these fuel prices. So if people are going out of business right now, they had really, 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 really shitty business models. They had no fucking idea what they were doing. The pain has not yet begun. It will. The pain will begin. All that's happening right now is we're just not making quite as much money because it's getting eaten up in fuel. That's all that's happening right now. It sucks, but it should only be pressuring your business if you have a shitty business model. The current atmosphere in the freight industry in the US, and all I can speak about is general freight across the US. There may be some people that are just their entire business is set up for like just one single port, like the port of Long Beach. And I can't speak to that. The port of Long Beach may have completely crapped out and people just can't make any money there. And somebody's entire business model was based around, the port of Long Beach. That's the only business that they do. Second here. So I feel for them. But there's other freight out there that they can go and do. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not 100% because some of these people that are they're highly specialized. Their equipment. It may be hard for them to haul other stuff. Maybe they're in day cabs that have very small fuel tanks. They can't really do regional or over the road or anything like that. Maybe their equipment just can't do that kind of stuff. Maybe it can't pull the weight to do over the road stuff. They're just short, tiny little single axle, single drive axle day cabs, something like that. So I'm not saying that everybody that goes out of business is a dumbass. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Is I'm not saying that everybody that goes out of business is a dumbass and doesn't know how to run a business. Some people just run into a really bad string of luck. But there are a lot of people that have their businesses set up terribly. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And when the market is really good in freight, anybody can make money. And I think that these companies that are out here paying drivers at over $1 a mile right now, the amount that they're paying company drivers, the amount that they're offering company drivers, I don't know anybody that's actually making that much money. But the amount of the advertisements that I'm seeing over $1 a mile for solo drivers. And that's just a couple of months ago. The high end, like top stuff that I was seeing was like 80 cents a mile, 70 and 80 cents a mile. It has shot up by a lot in just the last couple of months. These companies are so desperate for drivers. And I think it's going to be very hard. I'm not going to get tricked this time. It had the double sign up. And I thought that on-ramp right there was the new lane, and it's not. It's an ending lane. I pulled into that lane last time I drove down through here thinking it was the exit lane, and it's not. Alrighty. This is our exit. I see the TA sign right there. Now, the best spots, the ones that I hope I get, are right across from the fuel island. They're not reserved. They're basically straight back. You can straight back into the spots. And they're close to the building. We'll see what we can get. They have a bobtail parking lot here, a whole parking lot for bobtail. Tons of bobtail spots, and it's almost full. And there's some people in there with like some of those expedite vehicles. Damn. What the hell are you doing, Amazon? I think Amazon's parked there because it's clear. They're just blocking like 2 pumps. Dumbasses. See, there's people leaving. There's people leaving the truck stop. So let's see what we can get. God, I hope there's an easy spot to get into. I do not feel like doing a pain in the ass back right now. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, these people are parked like in. You can't even drive down the damn road. These fucking idiots. Oh my God, these spots right here, the ones that I said are easy to get into, but there's people parked in front of them. You couldn't even get into one right now. Oh, none of those are open. And what's really fucked up about this parking lot is like half the parking lot is facing one direction. It's all diagonal parking. Half is facing one direction, and the other half is facing another direction. So if you see an open spot, you might have to flip a bitch to not have to blindside it. And it's a pain in the ass to get turned around because of all the creative parking. Like every inch that you can squeeze in a truck, there's somebody parked there. There's like 3 or 4 reserves. Oh, whoa, whoa. We found a spot. There's 3 or 4 reserve spots open right here. All right. I have to be really careful with this turn because I don't want to hit anybody, but at the same time, I want to be really close over here to the left. All right, we made it around without hitting anybody. Let's go ahead and throw on our 4 ways. We got a pull-through spot. Just got to be mindful of both sides. Hey, yo! All right. Now we'll straighten it up a little bit. We'll back up. That is about as center as you can get. It's really hard to back up straight right here because the people on each side of me are parked diagonal, like they're parked crooked in their spots. So, all right. Wow. See, I was hoping for a really good, easy spot to get into, and look what happened. Bam. Let me take you out, and we'll go walking around, take a look. See, I'll make sure I'm really close to the line back here. Let's grab the flashlight out of the little cupboard. And this guy's all crooked in here. I think I'm really close to the line. Yep, I'm actually a little over the line, so I need to pull up. About 3 feet, maybe 4 feet. But yeah, we had these 3 spots were open, and then I saw this spot open on the other side. All of this is reserved. The other side over there is reserved. These are reserved. This person nosed in and just he's all kinds of crooked. What the fuck, man? Some nasty shit. Somebody dumped, whoever was parked here before me, dumped their shit bucket out or something. I don't know what in the hell this nastiness is. All right, let's pull forward. All right. And that should do it. Let me set the phone back up here. We relocated. Now we're at the TA that I want to be at, and we're in a good spot. Well, we're not in the best of spots, but as far as truck stops like this go that are ultra busy, this is not a bad spot because the parking in this area right here where I'm at is so tight. There's no room for creative parking. You saw those like perfect spots, the best spots that I pointed out up there. You can straight back those. There's tons of room. Well, these creative parkers see all that room and they park in it. So there were a whole bunch of people that were parked up there that just had people parked in front of them. There were people double and triple parked in front of them. So you'd have to run out. Like if you had an appointment to make, imagine these people waking up here right now. They're waking up right now. They get up, they're doing their pre-trip and they're trying to get going to make an appointment. And they've got 3 or 4 trucks parked in front of them that they've got to go wake up and get them all to move. They're probably going to be late for their appointment because of these dumbasses. I hate creative parkers. All right, I'm going to go ahead and log a. We drove for 40 minutes, but I'm going to log a pre-trip. I already did a pre-trip. We'll log a post-trip and then get it back over into the sleeper. And I'll do the post-trip after I end the video. And I'll go ahead and see there's truck across from me's pulling out. This is I timed it really well. I got down here while the traffic was good. Got down here while the getting was good. And while the trucks were just now starting to leave out. What is my trailer number? All right. Awesome. So, yeah, I'm going to do a post trip and then I'm going to pop open the APU and just make sure that a belt isn't snapped because I don't want to have to make multiple trips to the carrier dealer. You have 7 hours and 9 minutes of remaining drive time. Anything else I want to talk about before I end this video? Let me shut the truck off. See, it's 4:30 a.m. right now, 4:27 a.m. I don't know what the hours of operation of the carrier dealer across the street are because it has hours listed on Google, it has hours listed on the carrier website, and it has hours listed somewhere else. There were three different locations that I looked up the hours that the hours of operation, and every single place had different hours of operation. And what I think it is that they have the dealership broken up into multiple different businesses. Like there is a sales department, there is a service department, and then there's some other department. There's trailer sales, there's trailer maintenance, then there's some other, I don't know, there's three or four businesses there. And I think what it is each one of them have different hours of operation. I think that's the reason there's all kinds of different hours listed everywhere. What the hell? Did somebody back in behind me? No, 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 no. I don't think so. Because I remember I had to come around somebody on this side, and there was also a reserved parking sign that I had to pull around. See, there's another truck pulling out of a spot. This is a really good time to roll up into a truck stop and find a good spot, because here in another hour or so, 1 to 2 hours. Here in 1 to 2 hours, it's going to start getting really busy at the truck stop. There's going to be a lot of people trying to leave, and it's just around 8 a.m. at these busy truck stops. It gets chaotic trying to get out. All right, is there anything else I want to talk about for it in the video? Not that I can think of. I'm a little pissed off about the whole APU situation, but as of right now, it has not cost me a penny. And if a capacitor fixes the current issue, it will have only cost me, hopefully, somewhere around $13, depending on what the dealership is going to charge me for it. But it's a $13 part. It's actually like an $8 part, a $7 or $8 part, but Amazon resellers have it jacked up to $13, $14. And who knows what the carrier dealers can have it jacked up to. But we got ourselves a really good spot. The weather is awesome here. It's nice and cool. It's like 50 degrees at night, and the highs during the day are only around 70. So it's awesome here. The loads suck. I'm probably going to end up staying here through the weekend, and I'm probably not going to end up leaving until next week, which I don't have a problem with at all. I'm perfectly fine with that. That's just the way I roll. That's the way I operate my business. And I have my business set up in a way that it can operate like that. So it's not hurting me in the slightest. What will hurt me is setting like this. If I end up having to idle the truck, I can't set like this. If my APU goes out completely, then that that right there changes everything about how I operate. I immediately have to find a load and get moving, because it costs me so much money to set and idle the main engine. It is so incredibly expensive to idle the main engine. It's terrible. But you know what? I think I'm gonna go. I don't even think the McDonald's has opened up yet. I think I'm gonna go over to McDonald's whenever they open up and grab some food, some breakfast, because I've been eating out of the truck for about a week. The only thing that I've eaten that I did not bring with me in the truck was I had Popeyes um, Sunday night whenever I got to the truck stop. No, 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 it was Monday. Monday, I had Popeyes. Aside from that, the only thing I've eaten has been what's inside the truck, what I brought with me. And I'm getting a little burnout on chips. I've been eating Funyuns, tortilla chips with pecani sauce, paste pecani sauce. So chips and dip, regular chips, and beans. That's about all I've had for the last week, aside from one time I had Popeyes, and the idiot, they're hurting so hard at these businesses for labor that most places are not only understaffed, the people that are working there are fucking idiots. They're people that would normally not get hired or would be fired if they weren't so desperate for employees. It's so frustrating to do business with small businesses these days, with just about any business, because of the incompetence, especially fast food restaurants. The dumbasses working there these days. Oh my goodness. But I was looking forward to Popeyes so much, and the person taking my order fucked up my order so bad. I went up there and I ordered the same thing I always order, which is like the number 12, I think it is, platter, the shrimp platter. And she asked me if I wanted hot or if I wanted spicy or regular. And I was like, "What are you talking about? It's shrimp." She's like, "Yeah, but it comes with chicken tenders too." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't realize it came with chicken tenders." Um, and she's like, "Well, we can do just shrimp if you want. You don't have to, the what'd she say it was? It was the I forgot what she called it. The tackle box. She said the tackle box is the same thing, just without the chicken tenders. It's just shrimp only. And I'm like, oh yeah, that'll work because all I really want's the shrimp. And the platter comes with two sides. And I love the beans and rice, and I love the mashed potatoes and gravy. So those are the two sides that I get. Well, it wasn't until she finished taking my order that like it clicked in my head that I'm pretty sure that this is not what I want, because the platter that I ordered, that I always order, that I forgot came with chicken tenders, was like $14. And whatever she swapped it out for, the tackle box, was only $6. And she didn't ask me what sides I wanted. And I was like, I don't. So basically, because I told her I didn't want the chicken tenders, all I wanted was the shrimp, she assumed that all I wanted was the shrimp. I didn't want the sides. I didn't want the fries. I didn't want anything else except shrimp. So that's apparently what the tackle box is just shrimp. So that's all I got was shrimp, and I was pissed off. And I had to wait like an hour for that. It took them, I sat there for about 15 minutes. There was 7 or 8 people in the lobby, all waiting to either order or waiting for their orders. And people have been waiting for so long that everyone was out there just bitching and complaining so loud that the Popeyes employees could hear them. And like a lot of them were locals. One of them was a DoorDash driver, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's always like this." And they'll just ignore you. You can sit there at the register trying to order, and they'll just ignore you for 20 or 30 minutes like you don't even exist. And like she's saying this like 2 or 3 feet away from them. Like that's how pissed off everybody was they were bitching and complaining so close to them, and they were doing it loud enough to make it obvious that they could hear them. And it was just, man, people were fuming. And I didn't want to go up there and try to get my order corrected because it was taking forever. I was there for about 15 to 20 minutes just for them to take my order. And I was the first person in line when I got there. It wasn't like I waited in line. I sat there at the register for 15 or 20 minutes before they finally took my order. And then I sat there for about another 40 minutes before I got the order. And it was just for shrimp, like a quarter pound of shrimp. That was it. And I'm so pissed off about that. But it was really good. That's the only bonus, is that it was really good. And I'm gonna order Popeyes today, damn it, to make up for me getting screwed over last time. It's happening. I'm doing it. But yeah, I'm just sitting here in Portland, well, technically Troutdale, and before that Aurora, but the Portland area, just hanging out, having a good time, enjoying myself, playing video games, watching TV. My internet connection's good. Well, it was really good. My internet connection was amazing down in Aurora. I'm hoping that it's still going to be good here. And I'm hoping that the APU gets resolved with this simple fix. I hope that my APU is not out for the rest of the trip and I have to just, like put it in the shop whenever I get home because I don't really like it. I don't trust these carrier dealers out here over the road. This just like, man, it's like I was saying a minute ago. All these places that I interact with, the level of incompetence because of the labor shortage is insane. And it's the same thing in mechanics. Like a lot of these TAs, uh, you know, TA. The only reason I mention TA is because TA is a place I stop at regularly. TA and Petro, and you go in and chat with the people in the service center, and like TA mechanics are walking off the job constantly. Like I can't count the number of places I've been to that have been like, yeah, all of our mechanics quit yesterday, or I don't have any mechanics working today. It's just really, really common. So they're having to resort to people that they probably wouldn't normally hire. And like, I don't like mechanics anyway. And now in the current situation of what's going on, I really, really don't want to just stop at some random mechanic out here over the road because they could end up charging me several hundred or thousands of dollars, not only not fix the problem, but they could cause more problems. I've had mechanics do serious damage to the APU and charge me thousands of dollars for it. And so I'm very, very untrusting of mechanics. So if it's a major issue, I will probably just try to find a load to the house and I'll put it into the shop at the house and deal with somebody that I trust. And the only I don't really trust the mechanic that I deal with in Oklahoma City. It's just that they let me sit there and help them and watch what they're doing. That's I don't like it. I wouldn't trust to like go and leave them to do it while I wasn't there. The only reason that I like them and I trust them is because I can oversee everything that they're doing. And I know enough about the APU that I have a basic idea of what they're doing. And I know I'm not getting screwed over. And I try to help them out and everything. And they're usually really cool about giving me a really good deal on the labor hours because I help them. I'll get in there and I'll hand them tools and I'll get inside the truck and turn things on and off and stuff like that. I help them out as best I can. I also try to stay out of their way, but the main reason I'm there is to just oversee what's going on. I want to know what the fuck's going on with my APU because I've had dumbasses break shit. There was a carrier dealer in Virginia. Was it West Virginia or just regular Virginia? It was straight south of Mechanicsburg on, I forget what the hell that interstate is. Was it the 95? I don't think it was the 95. It was not the 95. I forget what it was, but it was straight south of Mechanicsburg on some interstate and just across the border in either Virginia or West Virginia. I stopped at some carrier dealer and they were shady. They were one of the shadiest carrier dealers I've ever been to. They were openly in front of me talking about screwing people over, about how this guy didn't feel like carrying a spare tire or something like that. And they were joking about, well, I'm not going to go bother with getting, this or that or something. I forgot what it was. So they were just basically saying that it didn't matter what they showed up to on this flat tire. They were going to, they, they were going to end up replacing it or something like that. I forget what it was. Basically they were going to lie about what the issue was because they didn't want to do something. And I heard them out there banging on my APU with a hammer. I paid them to replace the alternator fan belt, which I've done on my own 2 or 3 times. And these morons were out there with like a ball peen hammer beating the shit out of my APU. I don't know what the hell they were doing because they wouldn't let me watch. The carrier dealers are really bad about not letting you watch what they do. I've gotten into a yelling match with one of them before because they wouldn't let me see what was going on. And I walked back there to see what was going on, and they told me I couldn't be back there. Um, and they ended up charging me $600 for doing nothing. I had the exact same problem when I left the place. But anyway, um, I forgot what I was talking about. They beat the. I could hear them out there banging on it with a hammer, and I should have tested the APU before I left there. But I thought, you can't fuck up replacing a damn belt. You're a carrier authorized dealer, and I paid you $100 to spend 15 minutes replacing a belt. You can't fuck that up. And they did. I had a massive oil leak after that, and it took me about $2,000 or $3,000 and 5 or 6 or more mechanics. I put it in the shop 5, 6 or more times, and it cost me several $1,000s to finally get that oil leak resolved. And still to this day, it's not 100% resolved. They were in there banging on the top of the APU with a ball peen hammer, trying to tighten up the belt because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. And they broke a whole bunch of shit up at the top of the APU. The main cause of the oil leak, which I finally got fixed, was it was the oil pressure sensor. They cracked the oil pressure sensor banging on it with a hammer, and that's what the main source of the oil leak was. And it was hard for all the mechanics to find it because of how tight the spot is that my APU is in, and that particular sensor is like in between, like the alternator partially covers it up. So they were banging on the alternator to try to tighten the belt, and their hammer slipped off the alternator, went down this crack in between the alternator and the top of the engine, and hit that oil pressure sensor and cracked it. And who knows what else they hit up there while they were just banging the shit out of it with a fucking hammer. I'm getting pissed off just thinking about it. I need to stop thinking about it. So anyway, I'll end this video, and I'll get out here and do what I got to do as far as the APU. I got my interior light on, so it's making it harder to see outside. There's somebody backing in down there. It's basically a straight back, the spot that they've got, so not a big deal. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go get my APU fixed this morning, hopefully, and then I'll be back to just chilling in the truck. But for now, I'm trying to just trying to hang out and not run the APU too terribly much because I'm not 100% sure what's wrong with it. And if there is a belt that came off, I don't want to be running the APU. So I'm about to get down there and see what's going on with it. But anyway, hope you're having a great week. Thanks for watching. Bye.